All right, it is time now. Didn't it look like Velen had so much fun? I just had to add that in. That's fantastic. She's having such a wonderful time, and thanks for her for bringing all of that to us. All right, now it is time to cross back to Peter, who is in Sandton for a very important discussion this morning. It's another one of our SABC and New Age breakfast briefings, and today Peter is joined by Thabiso Sithole, who's going to be helping him out, and the guest of honour there is the Minister of Sport and Recreation, Fikile Mbalula. Peter, a very good morning to you and the rest of your guests and audience.
Leanne, thank you very much indeed, and good morning to everybody who's watching across the country and also across the continent. We're in Sandton, just north of Johannesburg, and this is the venue for the latest in the series of New Age business briefings brought to you by the SABC, and today very kindly sponsored by Transnet. And we're focusing on sport today, and this is something that affects us all one way or another. Some of us participate and some of us like to watch and enjoy, but I think the big message here is that even if you're not a big sports person, we must all be active as well. So that's a story that's going to be coming through our conversation. But recently, the Springboks went to the Rugby World Cup and we lost our first game. And suddenly, transformation came up on the agenda once again. So we will be discussing transformation, but it's not just about rugby. It's all of sport, sports in general, and we're going to unpack what has been being done. You'll hear things like the Transformation Charter. The department has various initiatives that it's undergone over time and continues with. We'll unpack those, get the facts, get the story right. And also we'll be talking about the Commonwealth Games. So a lot to discuss, a lot to look forward to, and we want you to be part of that conversation. Hashtag TNA BizBrief at Morning Live SABC. But joining us also here is Thabiso Sithole. He's going to be on the floor. Let's cross to him now and just see what he's going to be doing.
Thank you very much, Peter, and good morning to you at home as well as our viewers on Morning Live. Thank you very much for speaking to us right here. In fact, joining us right here on SABC News Channel 44 and SABC 2 is a plethora of guests. We've got everyone from, well, superstars, I see Anasa Jobodwana, and the likes of, I think that's Kasta Subinya Wade for Nikak. We've seen football coaches, the senior national football coach, Baba, who, where is he? I think he's right to my left. Listen, there he is, Bob Shakes Mashal. But thank you very much for joining us. Peter, I said to you, transformation, as you said, I think the DG probably nipped it in the bud. We should stop asking the questions of whether there's too many black people or white people playing a particular sport. The question is, how do you get mass participation in all our sporting codes? And hopefully, being here and having some of our superstars with us, we're going to get those answers and what it takes to actually build a winning nation, what it feels like to be out there on the field, on the track and running, because as far as that's concerned, I tell you not, it is tough out there. It's a lonely thing being a sports person, and maybe some of these athletes of ours will share some of that with us. And thank you very much for the sports minister as well for bringing us together here, because it has been a thorny issue. I kid you not, that loss against Japan is still lingers at the back of the mind, but we're not talking about that right now. Over to you, Peter.
Thabiso, thank you very much indeed, and we'll be crossing to Thabiso throughout the course of the morning. But let's talk our first panel, because we've got a couple of panels. The first one is on transformation in South Africa, and taking us through that conversation, let's say good morning and welcome to the Minister of Sports and Recreation, Minister Fikile Mbalula. Thank you for joining us and welcome.
Good morning and to all sports people, people of integrity, and the people of South Africa.
Right. Next to you is Dr. Willie Basson. Now, some of you may or may not have heard of the Eminent Persons Group on Sports Transformation. We'll find out what that is, but we say good morning to you and welcome, sir.
Good morning. Thank you.
Somebody that's no stranger to this program and very recognizable in South Africa is the president of SASCOC, Mr. Gideon Sam. Always a pleasure to have you. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Peter, and thank you to your viewers.
All right. Okay. Well, let's start this conversation. And there's so much to look at and so much to discuss. But I guess at the top, Minister, when we say transformation, what should we be saying? What is transformation in your view?
Well, transformation is about equity and access. The demographics is the consequentials of the implementation of transformation. It's too complicated. To break it down, it means that those who are historically disadvantaged must also have access and bring the equilibrium to the level in which we level the playing field. where in which we talk about the Rainbow Nation, that participate, that at the same time compete, and where in which every citizen, as espoused in the Freedom Charter, have got access, to issues of leisure and to issues of recreation and to issues of, ensuring that we are active as a nation, and that leisure, recreation, playing shall be the right to all, like we say under the Freedom Charter, security and comfort. So this is what transformation really it is about, and what we seek to basically achieve in South Africa.
All right, we'll unpack a little bit later on, as this conversation unfolds, exactly what you've been doing to get to that end. But let me turn to you, Dr. Basson, the Eminent Persons Group. Not everybody's heard about your group. Just give us an overview of why you were constituted and what it is that you're trying to do.
At a national sports conference, it was decided that the Transformation Charter, for it to move forward and to have effect, it needs to be driven and monitored by a group of people. The minister decided that the best way forward in that regard was the appointment of an independent grouping to take care of monitoring according to the principles locked up in the Transformation Charter, the progress towards set targets in 7 key strategic areas to bring about the necessary changes with respect to demographic change, and then also to maintain a good playing and performance record. So it's a two-folded approach: create access on an equitable basis, and then to develop a competitive sports system. Right. And it's the function of the EPG group to oversee independently, on behalf of the minister, that process and report back to the minister.
All right, so you're a good person to talk to in terms of how much progress we've made.
Yes.
Okay, we'll chat about that shortly. So you sit, Mr. Gideon Sam, overlooking a lot of sports bodies, federations, and I guess you get to see the big picture. A lot of people will follow the sport that they enjoy. Looking at the overall picture, how far would you say we've come along in terms of transformation?
Well, the mere fact that after 20 years we're still talking about it just goes to show that we have a long way to go and work on it. But the truth of the matter is that we have got the building blocks in place. The policy statements that have been made time and again by the minister, they're all in place. We've got a tool, the EPG, it's in place. What we probably now need, and let me also say that, as federations, we've accepted and embraced the transformation. What we probably need now is something like scorpions. Right on the ground. You know, you listen to the terms being used here, access and equity. But the minister will tell you, because he travels around the country just as I do. So I get to the other side of Mkanduli and they're still kicking a plastic ball. Meaning that that access that we're talking about is actually not happening. So the sooner we get lower down, turn this vehicle on its head, that's when we're going. Otherwise, 40 years from now, it's my son who will sit here, not me, I'll be gone. He'll be sitting here. You will also be talking about same thing. Because once you've got all the building blocks in place, as we have, I mean, the policy statements are clear. The plan is clear. It says exactly who must do what. And all we need is to not spend time on the few who are still resisting transformation. The majority of these federations that you see here, I have embraced a transformation. It is how we deal with it on the other side of pit sonder water. It is how we deal with it in Nushwa. That is where we are going to win this battle. Not here at the top. We can sit here, it's fine. But how we work on that. And it's nice to see that we've got some MECs here. And we have to go, and that's why our debate has to go really, really down. And then I think his work as the EPG supervisor will be far more easier.
All right, so Minister, he's saying that we could be having this conversation again in 40 years' time with his son. And the question is, we have the instruments in place. Tell us about those, but are they working?
Let me tell you, in 1994 and even before that, there were unity talks, which President Gideon Sam, Dr. Passon, they were part of, Gert Oosthuizen, Deputy Minister, which came to the conclusion that the policy of government is implementation of quotas. Mbalula was appointed as a minister after Reverend Fikile 5 years ago. First thing was to review that policy statement. How have we fared in the past 10 years or so with regard to the quotas? Remember the famous statement, quotas are counterproductive. Because what happens is that you've got 3 players on the field and then black players, and those 3 players will exchange between themselves. And it doesn't take into consideration merit. And quotas meant that you are making a favor for black people. It's not about equity. Our policy statement reviewed that, and which came at the Sports Indaba, which was held, which then now said, Minister, to accelerate transformation, do not do away with the quotas. Keep them there as carrot, not as carrot and stick, as a stick for those who don't want to transform. Secondly, you must have an eminent persons group. You know, like statistician general. Our statistician general is Dr. Passon and Dr. Fikile, who failed to pitch up today. Very disappointed. Now, that's what I've done. Eminent, respectable people who are very forceful. We adopted the scorecard and everything else. What did we do when everybody was asleep? We then took 5 top federations through the barometer. We made an evaluation, and then Dr. Passon will tell you about the scorecard dimensions that were actually there. And then today, where we are, the 5 top federations, netball, cricket, football, rugby, and athletics, have signed an agreement with the minister. Now, this happened at that time when it was said that Sept is going to jail. I had to explain that. The 10 million bribe, which never happened, you know. That time, everybody forgot. But we signed this thing. We agreed. So you wouldn't have expected, for instance, a team like the Springboks going into the World Cup would have actually fully transformed or achieved what is in the scorecard dimensions. But in the next year, they will be evaluated by this team. And in that, this scorecard dimensions for a first time, it's not a free-for-all. It has got one affirms merit, but it has got punitive measures. If you don't transform, there will be punitive measures. Director General spoke about it. I speak about it every day. Withdrawal of colors, deregistration, you know, and at the same time look at the funding of the federations and so on. The minister have got powers to do that. The minister cannot and does not employ Henneke Mayor. But if in a particular federation, let's say netball, what they've signed in terms of reaching 50-50 target, they are unable to reach next year, they've got to explain to me, why is it that this thing is irreplaceable? Even if, because we get reshuffled now and then, even if you can bring somebody else, this thing, it is there, it is a policy of government, of the implementation of the National Sports Plan, but it remains. Every year and annually, we might want to reshuffle the EPG from time to time, but it will give us a report to say that, Minister, that federation, in terms of the agreement it has actually signed, does not actually transform. Right. So you are free to implement your punitive measures.
We're going to have to take a quick break, but what I'd like to find out from you after that is, before Fikile and Mbalula then, did we get it wrong after this?